All right, here's the first story we got from the Daily Mail. Breaking news. Memphis cops release horrific video. 5 officers raining punches and kicks down on Tyre Nichols. Is that how you pronounce it? Tyre Nichols? I was calling him Tyre Nichols before.
I couldn't tell.
I think it's Tyre Nichols.
Yeah, seems like Tyre.
Because like if it was Tyre, I think it'd be like 2 E's, but I'm not trying to get his name wrong. Let's say Tyre. As he screams out, "Mom, Mom," before dying in hospital after cardiac arrest and kidney failure. So they got a bunch of different angles. They pepper spray him. They pin him on the ground. There's surveillance footage where he's got his hands behind his back. They're holding, I think they've cuffed him at this point, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then the cop just walks up and just does full boom.
Haymakers.
Boom. Just starts wailing. You see him going back and forth. Yo.
It's tough to watch.
Yeah, it's very tough to watch. And they had the chief of police came out earlier and said it's as bad or worse than Rodney King. And so I'm kind of just like, yo, do they want people to riot tonight?
Why would she say that?
Because they want the riots.
Because they want.
They've been hyping it up all week, and then she's like, we wanted to release the footage on a Friday when no one was in school or at work, so it wouldn't be disruptive. It's just like, so you want to make sure everyone is available to protest, to riot?
Exactly.
They did the Mike Brown non-indictment announcement on a Friday night too, if I recall. It's like right at this exact time.
It's like they want people to riot.
Yeah,
I think they do. There was that the firebomber, the Antifa firebomber in New York, 1 year in prison. The judge even praised the dude. Yeah. The judge was like, "You're a good guy, you know. You've done a lot of great things. You're gonna go away for a year." And it's just like this guy firebombed a police vehicle, and him and his friend were giving out firebombs, and 1 year. Meanwhile, some like bumbling bumpkin walks into the Capitol building confused, and you're like 20 years in prison. I'm exaggerating, by the way, but like, you know, they
Viking Man got 4. That's a good
Who
one.
did?
Viking Man got 4.
Oh, right. It's like, here's a guy who's just like doofing about. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just trespass, 4 years in prison. Meanwhile, firebomber, welcome to America. We can have we were talking about this the other day, like, are we in for another summer of love? It's like, it's still winter, man. I'm kind of feeling like summer of love's coming.
Seems like it.
I could go for an actual summer of love at this point. How about you guys?
What does that mean?
Like where we actually love each other again, try and take care of each other. I mean, I'm not down with violence though. You break something, you buy it, man. You wreck somebody's house, you're threatening their livelihood and their life at that point.
We talked about this the other day. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but we were talking about how property rights are life rights. Like the root of property rights is your ability to live safely and securely. That's why you can own land, and you can farm and grow food. If you were like, I am going to work all year to grow food, and then some communists show up and they're like, it's not yours, it's ours. Well, then nobody has security.
And if they kick you out of your house, if they burn your house down, you go out and it's cold outside, you'll die from hypothermia. Like there's no joke. Your home is is the central nexus of your livelihood.
Now, I did the Unthinkable today. I watched a lot of MSNBC and CNN just to kind of see.
You got to check in.
Just to see what everyone else,
Did you vomit?
The other half is what. Well, it's like all they're talking about is this one person and him dying, and it's almost like they're just feeding into it. They're making this seem like this is the biggest story in the country, when in fact it's one of thousands of murders that happen every month in this country. Like that's what, like if this worst case scenario, these cops did it, they murdered them. Like you said,
I think they did.
They're already in jail.
Like these videos
what else do you want besides them getting arrested? Like, what are you protesting for? Protesting is supposed to have
Abolish
an end
police.
goal. That's exactly what it is. But they're not saying that. But that, like, so when Biden gets out there and he actually said, like, we want you to protest peacefully. Why are you protesting at all? Protesting what? They were already arrested. They're in jail. What else do you want? But
abolish the police.
Exactly.
This is it. They know that abolish the police is unpopular, but that's really what they want. Mm-hmm. You got a video. I got to say, like, I watched the surveillance footage, and I'm just like, yeah, there's no justification for having a guy in cuffs who's just standing there, and then you start wailing on his face.
Yeah. Oh, it was bad. It was uncomfortable.
I haven't seen the video. Is it too bad?
Too graphic. I don't think we can play it on YouTube.
So was he saying something, and then they came up behind him and they're like, you said too much kind of thing?
No, like he was dizzy and like disoriented, and they just kept hitting him. Like, and it seemed almost personal. Like very personal. Like I'm sure there's more to it. Well, and he didn't deserve it. Don't get me wrong, but it seemed like either the cop has roid issues or something wrong with that guy.
Well, I'll just say, I probably shouldn't say it, but I want to.
You talking about the super chat?
The super chat where someone said there's a rumor that he was banging a dude's wife or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, that it was personal.
Yeah, but I only say that because you said it looked like it was personal, and I felt the exact same way. Like when they got the guy subdued, and then the dude walks up and just winds up and goes boom. Boom. I'm like, does he know that guy?
Right.
Because that's not, all the videos we've seen of cops when they're like detaining or arresting someone, you can tell what they're doing and why they're doing it. Like a lot of these videos are stop resisting and then they start hitting him and punching him in the head. But that's like, they call it pain compliance. This looks like revenge.
Yeah, it's like that one guy in particular. It's not like all the cops are doing it.
Yep.
He looked like in Mortal Kombat when it's like finish him.
Yeah,
it really that's what he looked like. And
So that one cop was the one who kept.
Yeah, it was only the one cop. And I know there was one. I don't know if there was also a part of it where they're hitting him with the nightstick. I don't know if that was like the same cop or whatever.
You know, it could be that this rumor emerges because people are like, does this guy know him?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good point.
They're trying to fill in the gaps. I mean, Memphis
there's
is
gotta be
like one
something.
of the most violent cities in the country. And so if we were trying to have a hotbed for cultivating an anti-police sentiment, it might be one of the places to do so, because I'm sure there are a lot of people there who feel as though the justice system is against them and, you know, hurts everyone they know. I think it's the obvious parallels you're going to see are that, you know, this man was stopped. It started as a traffic stop, and there are cities like Philadelphia that have tried to do away. They try to get rid of any chance of having a traffic stop to avoid this kind of confrontation or a confrontation escalating. The video is, I mean, I think the video speaks for itself, but obviously if we find out later that there is some sort of social or relationship, some sort of connection between the men, like, I don't think it makes it better. I think it probably speaks to more systematic issues in Memphis.
Yeah, it could even indicate like premeditation. If the guy knows the guy and he sees him across and he walks towards him to hit him, that's very different than he's on him and then he starts hitting him out of defense or something.
It's just hard to like.
I don't think that's true that the guy was banging his wife. I think it just sounds sensational.
It was a super chat, so
Yeah,
It's on the
Pretty
internet,
official.
therefore it's true, right?
Must have some value if it's on the internet.
I don't know. Maybe we should Google it.
they paid to say that. So
Maybe I just Google it. I'll see.
So then what happened? These 5 cops are in jail right now? Because this is like the first I've heard
They
of
all
this.
turned themselves in, and they've been arrested, but I think they all posted bond, last I read.
Were they actually
were
fired?
they out?
I think they're out. But then again, I wonder where they are right now, because it sounds like Memphis is not the place to be.
Is there riots right now?
I mean, I don't know about right now, but it seems like there's a chance that tonight is a night for it.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen was watching footage. I don't know where he was watching, but there's definitely people out in the streets
There
demonstrating.
are demonstrations, but
yeah.
I don't know if it's escalated.
Oh yeah. This there's like a YouTube video from a day ago. Was Tyre Nichols having an affair with one of the officers' wives?
Oh boy.
Oh.
And they found him and they were like, that's
So
the guy.
I typed in. So I picked up Google. I typed in Tyre Nichols, and it autofilled it affair Reddit, and I was like, whoa, what? So I clicked it, and it just gave me a bunch of Reddit posts about the story. So I got rid of Reddit. So it says Tyre Nichols affair, and there's a video where a guy's saying it from yesterday. So maybe it was someone just speculating. I don't know. Because people are like, why would the cops do this? Is the cop just a murderer, and he was just feeling like killing a guy, or was there a reason for it?
It's pretty rare. I think most murder, I don't know, I don't actually have the data to back this up. Most murder is between people that know each other. Is that true?
And I think a lot of the cops are just they see the mental aspect of being a cop. Like, they see dead bodies all the time. Like, they come across a car accident, they're the first to see a dead body. They have to call people's loved ones. These people, a lot of police, I think, are suffering from mental health issues, and they're messed up in the head. What I saw in that video, I mean, that man has serious issues, like anger issues. He's probably seen a lot of things. I mean, Memphis is a dangerous city. He's working in a lot of dangerous areas. And I'm not justifying anything he did. Obviously, he needs to be held responsible for that. But what you saw in that video is not normal anger. An accountant doesn't have that kind of anger in them. Somebody that actually sees crazy shit on a daily basis, like, that's what I saw in that video.
So what's your prescription? Are we going to get a summer of love?
Oh yeah, we're gonna. I mean, well, luckily it's winter, so we got that going.
Look. This stuff's already starting in January. I mean, normally we wait until the springtime when people start coming out, but people are protesting in winter, which, you know, it's almost like the groundhog see his shadow. Like, do the protesters come out in winter? Because if they do, then they're heated up.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, is desperation with this economic downturn. We need some sort of like industrial revival or revolution in this country.
But like, why do we know? But like, so one guy in Memphis was murdered, right? So, but people are murdered across the country on a daily basis, and this is what annoys me about this: is that this is what the media and politicians, Democratic politicians, tell us is important. This is the biggest story. But it's really not, because people get murdered every day in this country. In Massachusetts the other day, I don't know if you guys heard about this, one of the most horrible stories I've ever heard. A mother, a nurse, a delivery nurse at Mass General Hospital, murdered her 3 children.
I saw the story,
and then tried to kill herself by jumping out of the window. To me, that is so much of a bigger story than this, because the problem that caused her to do that is mental health, and that isn't something that we are not addressing.
But you don't protest that.
Right, but why aren't you never hear calls to let's do something about the mental health system. Here's my plan to fix the mental health system. So many people are dying in this country every year because of mental health. That's an actual problem that is a solution that can be fixed. Whereas, what are these people trying to fix? They're already in jail. There's not a problem to be fixed here. 5 bad cops did something bad and they're being held responsible.
They look at the police and say this is going to keep happening so long as you have a police department.
And
with the woman killing her kids, people are going to be like, what should we do?
Yeah, you make a good point. A lot of the mass shootings are people that are on some sort of psychoactive drug, and
what's the first thing they try to do after
they'll try and
shooting?
ban guns or take away guns instead of going with the pharmaceutical companies that are profiting off of shoving drugs down people's throats instead of fixing their diets. And it's like the thing about demonizing police is it stresses out the people that are on the force, the police force, and then when they're out there, they're more stressed, and then they become more likely to get agitated on the job. So
or fearful, resulting in an escalation of force.
Right. Absolutely. Hating is not going to make these people fight less.
Right.
I think they see defund the police as a very simple solution, right? Cops are killing people. If we get rid of them, those are gone. And I think it becomes harder to talk about mental health. I think you're totally right. Mental health should be a bigger push in this country. And in fact, when you start talking, it made me think of there's a wave of different families over the Christmas time who were all involved in murder suicides, right? Like these very large families. I think there were 2 in Utah. But mental health is more complicated, right? You mentioned diet. We could talk about medication. We could talk about environmental stress. It's much harder to pinpoint a fix on one thing. Whereas if I say, well, if cops killed someone, we should just get rid of all cops, it becomes much easier for people to all jump on board. It's not that I advocate for that solution. It's just that it markets itself better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so even though it's misdirected, I think it's much easier to push people towards that cause or that effort.
Now, I just want to point out, all of these cops that got arrested, they were all black. So does that remove the racial component?
No. Did you read Van Jones today?
What did he say?
Oh, he said that it's internalized white supremacy. Right. You got to see the headline. I screenshot it somewhere. You would think it's satire, but it's actually real life.
I think it was The Guardian had one. I think The Guardian.
Here's the headline. Opinion: the police who killed Tyre Nichols were black, but they still might have been driven by racism.
Oh, come on, man.
CNN.
I know, I got it right here. And I'm trying to be can we point out that the protesters are angry with the policing system and it's not just a race thing? And nope, they can't help it.
They can't.
They're pulling a Clayton Bigsby. It's a Dave Chappelle Clayton Bigsby.
Yeah, literally.
How do they not laugh?
I was kidding about it earlier.
The guy writing that headline,
they're trying to stay on message.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
We had the Hoteps here. Hotep Jesus, Uncle Hotep, Canon Hotep. Mm-hmm. These are 3 adult black males. And I just pointed out to him, I was like, it's funny is that because of your guys' politics, you're all white supremacists. But Serge over here is African American because he's from South Africa.
Quite literally.
It's just like the logic. Yeah, right. Like Elon.
Exactly.
Luke is Luke Rudkowski's Polish.
Person of color.
So that makes him a person of color.
How come?
Slavs are considered people of color.
I always wonder about Portuguese.
According to wokeness. Because the woke don't believe white means your skin color. It means political, dominant force or something. And because Ukrainians, Polish people or whatever, and Romanians are in a worse off economic position.
Right.
The blonde hair, blue-eyed Luke Rudkowski, according to the Coalition for Communities of Color, they say he is a person of color.
Now I see a through line here because
they say Hotep Jesus, a black man, is a white supremacist.
I think that whiteness, whiteness and the patriarchy are kind of hand in hand. I do believe it comes from the Roman slave state. It was essentially the Romans were racist, genocidal maniacs that would conquer and murder and enslave other people that weren't pure blood Roman. They were like the Nazis of the time. If the Nazis had won and conquered the half the planet.
Yeah, it wasn't just them.
It wasn't just the Romans, but the Roman patriarchy, the church that they created, has done such damage, and the amount of slavery that they imposed on people, and it still is bled through into our society. We have white Roman heritage, but it's not the skin color. That's where it starts to get blurry. We got to look past the skin color and look at the actual patriarchy. We even call ourselves patriots. Like, that's a male dominant thing. They say God is a man. That's male dominant crap. It doesn't have to be like that.
He's going full feminist.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I agree with you.
No one, you don't have to. Well,
No, it's okay.
tell me why.
I think part of this, I think it's easy to say like, oh, it's one group that had this terrible system, but like, let's remember that when the Romans had slaves, so did tons of other
Right.
people, right?
Exactly.
Like, we are saying that, oh, because we are tied to Romans and they had slavery, therefore this through line is there. But that's not true, because you'd have to say it for all civilizations, right? And every descendant of a culture that had slave would, in that idea, have the same fault, right? I think when we talk about patriarchal culture, it becomes easy to, again, say that there is one problem, right? That men are too aggressive and that men don't do this and whatever. And I think that's not true, personally, right? I think that there are faults with some patriot-dominated societies, but I don't think being tied to your heritage, and typically heritage is traced through the masculine line of your family, is bad, right? I think we have a better understanding of our history, and again, typically that's tied through the male-dominated line. You have a better way of looking at the faults in your culture, right? It becomes more difficult to reflect on yourself.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.